St. Lucia, this is Open Mic, and we're now starting the third segment of our program. You know, it's unfortunate that time goes by so quickly. We can only do so much. We have touched on several headings so far, but one heading we need to address right now is the situation with our hospitals in St. Lucia. Right now we have the National Hospital, we have St. Jude's Hospital, and we also have the Tapia Hospital, and of course Victoria Hospital. Now, you know, what I want to say today is, just listening to the news, things aren't great at the Victoria Hospital. Number one, there seems to be a great shortage of medication. There seems to be some serious problems with the electrical problems at the hospital, where there have been blackouts and people had to move over to Tapia. The Tapia Hospital itself is under severe financial pressure, where shareholders are now wondering which direction the hospital is going to take. You have the National Hospital, which has been finished for nearly a year and a half now and is closed, and nothing seems to be happening there of any consequence. You have the St. Jude's Hospital, which has been lumbering along for the last 4 years. Sometimes there are people working, sometimes they are not. There are promises that made over the last year and a half that will be finished. We have the games that are supposed to be coming, where they will need the George Odlum Stadium. The hospital is still there. Things are not great there because they've had several gas leaks and difficulties. It really is not the fit place for a hospital. It's an interim place, and one wonders what is going on. As a matter of fact, the hospital situation has been a great concern to me, because, and so it is for the Prime Minister, because he said very clearly, or should I say his ministries have said, that they need some $50 million there to run the hospitals. And how can we afford the $50 million when we can barely run Victoria Hospital? Now, I went to the hospital recently, the National Hospital, and I have to say I was blown away by the quality of work and how beautiful and well set up it was. But it's closed. I understand that there's a piece of equipment there, an MRI machine, which has been put into a room which has not been used for several months, but the air conditioner is going because you can't leave it in a warm temperature. And you know, I wrote to the, on my own, to the Indian ambassador based in Suriname, because I know India has a very good system in place where they do what they call the medical tourism. A lot of people fly to India for that type of thing. And I had the ambassador look at the hospital. She was extremely impressed, and she indicated to me that there are facilities in India that would come and offer some sort of a management program free of charge, okay? And you know, they have a lot of Indian doctors who could come out here and get the place going. You have Sufre Hospital, for instance. When the United Workers' Party in power, a group of us got together and we spent almost $150,000 to renovate the Sufre Hospital, but there's no doctor there. Now, I distinctly remember 45 years ago, my brother, Peter Chasney, who was in St. Lucia, he was the doctor for Sufre, and he spent 2 years in Sufre, and he rented a house right next door to the hospital and stayed there. Today, there's no doctor there. Our associate, when we look at the association we have with Cuba, Taiwan, and all these places, how can you tell me that you can't get half a dozen doctors to come out temporarily and man those hospitals? You know, when I walk, for instance, also on the Chaussee Road, and I see the condition of the health center. My sister worked there for 20 years. That place was a beautiful place, with a good coat of paint and some cleaning up, and a doctor there permanently 24 hours a day, also for the Polytechnic up at the north, to take the pressure off the hospitals and having the people travel such distances. I mean, what is going on, Dennis?
Well, the National Hospital, what I know of that is, if you remember, with the new wellness hospital that was built, and I think that's where the falling out between Tom Chu and then the leader of the opposition, when Tom Chu says that if we have such a big building or a building of that magnitude, that the cost for maintenance is will be too
astronomical.
high, astronomical, and he was told in no uncertain terms that he was interfering in the politics of St. Lucia, and I think that's where things went. But he has since been proved right, and don't forget, Taiwan gave so much to finish
the wellness center.
The wellness center. But not only that, they gave money to the extent that the canteen or the cafeteria or the cooking area would be for both hospitals, laundry room for both hospitals. So all of this was put at the side of in the middle, so that both hospitals could share,
cut down
on cost and things of that sort. For the hospital in Vieux Fort,
St. Jude.
St. Jude,
yes.
What you had there was, I blame both governments again, because initially they were thinking of, if you remember, Sir John talked about the quadrant.
Yes.
Now the quadrant would have meant a new hospital or extending on St. Jude. But as you know, you had the fire. So what happened was, I believe at the time the Prime Minister was thinking of building a new hospital, even
Which
though,
Prime Minister?
Stephen King.
Yeah.
Instead of extending, which this government is doing. But the problem is that if you have people on contract, like you have the Taiwanese are waiting, I think they'll be coming this month or next month, but they've been waiting nearly 4 years to do the surgical theaters and things of that sort, because I know them very well, and while in Taiwan they looked after me, to be honest with you, and things of that sort. And for me, that there was a time when they were thinking of pulling out of the contract, because they had the right to do so.
Okay.
And
Why?
Because they
dragging
had
their feet?
Yeah, because they had their stuff in containers here for all that time. It is I who said to them, no, not to do that. I spoke with the ambassador, and then I tried to speak to the minister, and because of that, they did not pull out of the contract. Because they were asking me, you're in St. Lucia, what should we do?
So the equipment is already here?
Oh, the equipment was here a long time ago, because the last government
So if it's in containers, it probably have to be air conditioned, because...
Exactly, the last government gave them the impression that they were almost ready to come. So we cannot blame this government, but I believe that this government, as you know, coming from Taiwan, I said that one thing that we can do to accelerate the process is to borrow money from the Import-Export Bank of Taiwan, who gives your diplomatic friends interest, a loan at a very, very, very low interest rate. And I think that was the opportunity that Prime Minister took, because I made that quite clear. And it was the company that was, who's due to put the surgical the operating theater in, who gave me some documents in Taiwan and told me that is what you all could do, because they wanted the process to be accelerated, because they said, don't your government know that they can borrow money from the Import-Export Bank?
Right,
And I think the Prime Minister has done so. What is the hold-up? I really don't know, and I cannot believe it, but I was told that the company should be coming here this month or next month to begin to work on the operating theaters.
I'll tell you, it's very sad, because when St. Jude's got burned, I remember Mr. Stephen King had a meeting in the government at his office. There were about 15 to 20 people at that meeting. I was present.
Not cut you short, but it was I who called that meeting, because that morning I went straight to Tom to say to him what Taiwan will do, or will they help us? And he says, I don't know, I will get in touch with my government in Taiwan. And then he called me back that afternoon, because it was the afternoon you all were there, and he said to me, yes, we will help.
Okay.
So, but I cannot tell the Prime Minister,
Okay.
right? You have to tell him. So I called the Prime Minister when he
Yeah.
was having that meeting
Right.
to tell him that
Okay.
please call the ambassador because Taiwan is prepared to
Assist,
help.
yeah.
That is when they decided they would help initially with 2.3 million US,
Okay.
and then later it went to 3.1 million. So
Yeah,
it was I who
and
made
now,
that call.
yeah, we as locals, we collected like $5 million.
That's right, correct,
Okay?
correct.
And it's funny because I asked a company from Trinidad called NH International to come over, and they came over and they said if they had to just fix the hospital, don't extend it at all, and it would be 17 million EC dollars to do everything. And I told Stevenson King at the time, look, regardless of what people are telling you, let's not embark upon any massive project because there are sufficient rooms down there to get the thing going. The National Hospital is already being designed.
Yeah,
I said, you don't need any massive surgery down there because we can do the ordinary surgical work. And if somebody is very ill, God forbid a bad accident, and you had to get her up, you can always take a helicopter for 5 minutes and bring them to the National by putting a helipad instead of expanding on that thing down there. And they imagine that NH said it would take them 7 months to do the job.
Yes,
7
it was.
months. Remember?
Actually, it should have, if it had gone to the company, the Taiwanese company,
Yes.
it would have taken 9 months.
There you go.
And I remember that quite vividly, and I was very, very surprised. But as you know, they had their own contractors who took time on the job to try to extend it and things that sort. And probably,
You know how much has been spent to date? Let me just tell
Yeah.
you, 145 million.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. I mean, this is a sin crying to heaven for vengeance, I mean, because really, St. Lucia is a poor island.
But even
I mean,
then, at
how
the
could we
time-
spend that kind of
At
money?
the time, they tried to belittle the Taiwanese
Which is true,
a
yeah.
firm, saying that they had never built, and that is the last government, never built hospitals before. When the guys with a bigger company, because they
Yeah.
broke away, had built hospitals, at least 4 hospitals in Africa and things of that sort. The fellas had a good history. They're the ones who built the tennis center. They're the ones who finished the new wellness center. And they did the stadium for the Carifta Games and things of that sort, which was falling
Yeah.
apart at the time. Poured money into that, and I found that really, really for
Sad.
me sad. And in that sense, the last government has a lot of they have to take the blame too for what we are having now, because the hospital should have been finished before the new government came into power.
Yeah, no question at all about
No question
it. No
about
question
it.
at all about
And from what you are saying, this firm said 7 months, and the Taiwanese firm said 9 months.
Yeah.
And for me that is sad, because I saw all the drawings, everything. I even had it at home, and that for me has been sad. Every time I think about it, it just gets on my nerves.
Now tell me something. You a man, you're being deemed a political analyst in St. Lucia, and you have your fingers on all these things. What is your take on the legal proceedings presently in the courts concerning the flawed process of the boundaries? What have you picked up?
Well, the important thing is, I'll tell you something now, and I think I'll say it clearly, because it's we're going, everybody in St. Lucia will see the program. Once upon a time, I used to think that Guy Joseph, like everything else, the way he spoke and things of that sort, was for me not somebody I'd like to represent me because of the way he spoke and things of that sort. But education is not all.
That's right.
It is common sense.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you're looking at a true politician, he's one of them. I would say Pierre is another. When we're talking about real politicians, Emma, I'm seeing, is becoming that sort of thing. But he, he stands out as a true politician.
This is a very important topic, but we've just come to the end of the 3rd segment, and we're going to discuss that one. This is Oak Mike, and we'll be right back.